Across the Spider-Verse Part 1 is a work of art. I didn't think that this sequel was, gonna be as good as the first one because that would be hard, and I wasn't really as excited to see it, mostly because I'm just kind of burnt out from all the superhero movies and TV shows. And I am so, so, so happy to be wrong, and so very wrong I am. Everything that is good about the first one is in this movie, while still improved and completely different in its flavor, and it's just amazing. Now, I will talk about spoilers. I will. So, yeah, be warned, but oh my goodness, it's a work of art. Once again, the animation, breathtaking, brilliant, just, oh my god. The first 10 minutes of me watching this movie, I'm just like, just woof. Just, oh my goodness. Every single character has, yeah, their own animation style. And yes, that was a thing in the first one. But in this one, we get to see them in their world and how each and every world is individually beautiful and unique. And God, if you really look closely, each character has like a different animation vibe. Oh, it's spectacular. And the new characters are just as charming, if not more charming, than the ones in the first one. That is so special to me. Oh my goodness, the animation. The animation is so amazing. And I really, really needed that because throughout the years, at least 80% of animation that gets made is garbage, is nonsense, is a fart of an effort. But this movie is just a jewel. It's just the prime example of what I love about animation. This was made with passion and love, and every single scene was just spectacular. And not just like the animation wise, the story, the dialogue, all of it is just so rich and so good. And I'm just so happy that I enjoyed this movie as much as I did. So much that I want to see it in theaters again because the quality is just that great. And I look forward to, seeing it quality on my computer so I can just like stop and stare, stop and stare, stop and just wow. So, so, so awesome. Okay, how was the story? The story was pretty good. Again, it kind of does fall into what you can expect from a superhero plot line. There's betrayal, there's expectations, there's, yeah, big risk for the greater good or personal good. Yeah, you can see that in almost any superhero like franchise and all that, but it's not about what the story is, it's how it's executed, and this was executed pretty beautifully. Yeah, yeah. Miles Morales is such a sweetheart. He really is just a cutie. And he has this interesting thing where he's a very smart kid, but he also comes off as so naive because he's a kid, and it's just done so beautifully. I love him. I love him so much. He's such a cute kid. And yeah, if the first one was just him being awkward about going through his powers, and this one, it's just more of the, yeah, everybody telling him what they want from him and what to expect from him. And, he handles it pretty gracefully, as gracefully as Miles can, but still, wow, wow. While also still being a very, very funny character. It's, it would be hard to, like, carry this character in such a way, but I think he is balanced in a beautiful way. I do. And he kind of shares the screen time of importance with Gwen Stacy, Spider-Woman. Personally, I would rather she be named Spider-Ghost. I think that's a cool name. Though, honestly, with Miles' powers, he should be named Spider-Ghost. But here nor there. So yeah, we get to see Gwen's life for a little while in her world, and wow, her world is quite distinct from Miles's because it's just, oh, it's like dripping like paint that isn't totally finished. Her colors, I'm not gonna say are more solid, but the way she's framed in the hues to like show her emotions and the way that her world is like the way it's toned is so very different from Miles, which is like stark contrast and such. Hers, just painted over in watercolors. It's so lovely. And her story is quite sad. Yeah, yeah, her story is quite sad. It tugs at the heartstrings. She's still angsty and secretive. It makes sense in the story, it does. And yeah, she's so quiet and reserved while also still being pretty cool. And yet, she and Miles do have feelings for each other, and there's a little bit of a jealous love triangle in this movie that I think is pretty darn cute. So yeah, I liked that. Do I believe Gwen Stacy is trans? I think the movie's trying to imply that she is, and that's fine. I mean, would I have liked some sort of like hint of that in the first movie? Yeah, but it wasn't in vogue, or at least, people couldn't talk about it as much a couple of years ago. So I have my doubts. It kind of feels like queer baiting to me, but if I'm wrong, that would be cool. But it's also nice that if she is, it's not really her plot line or more just a detail in her life. I don't know. But yeah, it's their two story and it's done quite well. And it's also a story about parenthood and how hard it is to be the parent of superheroes when you know about your kid's identity, when you don't, hint hint. And yeah, just that parents are people, and even though they might love their kids and they might have like good moral standing and all that, just the idea of how to treat this person who, you love with all your heart but is growing up in a way you did not expect and don't know how to handle. It's hard. It's hard. And when Stacy's going through that with her dad, her single dad, because of course, missing mom. And Miles's parents are still really good parents. And they're also going through this thing where they're struggling with their son with his secret, like, superhero life. Of course, they don't know, but they're still struggling with it. And it's amazing how, again, it's balanced to be so funny and so charming on their parts, while also really tough. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of amazing in that way. Like, they are written so well, and their performances, voice acting wise, is done so nicely. I mean, TV parents, of course, I'm not gonna say they're flawless, but the way they, like, deliver their dialogue is, like, so on cue, so perfect. It's amazing. So other characters? Well, the new characters. We have the Indian Spider-Man. I feel bad for not remembering his name because he was very, very charming, and God, he had gorgeous hair. God, he's very funny, he's very sweet, he's a little ridiculous. But yeah. His, like, when Miles and Gwen go to his world, I'm pretty sure it's my favorite part of the whole movie because the sequences are so awesome and he is so funny with every line he says, but also so heartfelt. It's amazing. He's an amazing character. Then we have Spider-Punk, and oh my god, when he was first talking, I was so aggravated. He seemed like so arrogant. But wow, the more this guy talks, the more I begrudgingly begin to like and respect him. I mean, I also really respect because he had probably the most, like, standout, like, animation of this movie with, he's like all 70s punk. So, like, there's this, like, collage-y outline of him the whole time, and he just looks so cool, and, And yeah, he has a Cockney accent that is super thick that I kind of wish I had subtitles during this movie. But yeah, he's quite charming. And he's also part of the love triangle, okay? Apparently Gwen has been sleeping over at his place, and Miles is adorably jealous. And yeah. Spider-Punk is too cool for school, and sometimes it's annoying, but his character proves to be pretty awesome in the end. So, wow. Other new characters? Let's see. We have Miguel O'Hara, who is kind of the dark version of Spider-Man. He's that hero that is going to extremes for the greater good. The greater good. It is terrifying, but he's still a pretty rounded character, which is impressive. And yeah, I think Miles is right, where he is, like, so past, like, what is the Spider-Man concept with all his powers. It's not explained, but I kind of think, after he was bitten by the radioactive spider, that he just started to keep experimenting on himself. So now he's got all these crazy powers. And, I don't know spiders well enough. Maybe there's a species that is almost jaguar-like that would match this guy. But wow. He is a lot, but he's done quite well. So yeah, he's great. The only character I really kind of felt meh about was Pregnant Spider-Woman, but that's just because I thought they didn't give her a lot to work with. Once you get over the shock that she's pregnant and still working, she doesn't really do that much other than be a more serious contrast to, lazy Peter Parker's take on being a mentor. Like, she's the mentor to Gwen, whereas, Peter was the mentor to Miles, and while Peter was completely apathetic and barely there, well, just throwing advice on the whim, she is calculated and planned, and I don't know, it just felt a little boring to me. That's just my opinion. There are a lot of other secondary characters in this movie, but there are too many to list, and they didn't really, they weren't so impactful to me. They did good, their stories make sense, and their characters where they are make sense, but see the movie, you'll understand. So yeah, back to the story. The story is good. At first, I didn't know how this was going to be set up to be a part one. I was waiting for something really forced, but honestly, it did feel like I just watched the beginning of a movie and we cut right into the middle. It genuinely felt like that, and that is quite cool. That is quite impressive. These the writers / producers behind this, Lord and Miller, are just really good. We needed them in animation. I love what they do to the Spider-Man world. I do. I want to see them do more stuff. I recently watched the reboot of Clone High, and I saw Clone High years ago. I'm seeing it now, and there are aspects of it that are pretty good, but also a little dated with the whole meta thing. There's lots of meta in these Spider-Man movies, but the humor is more witty and more about the characters interacting than it is calling all the quotes. And there are a lot of cringy memes and just pure ridiculously almost stupid wannabe funny moments in this movie. But for the most part, all the big laughs and wow moments are done purely with character driven moments that are totally natural and totally organic, and that part's really cool. So, do I think this is a movie for everyone? No. I think comic book fans are going to eat this up like it's one of the best superhero movies I've seen in a while. Animation fans, again, amazed. Just every other moment, incredible. Oh my god, just the action sequences and the speed of it were, I was paying attention to it, but wow, I want to see it again so I can really understand it. For a common moviegoer, I feel like the fast-paced dialogue and how complicated superhero plots are with the the extra dimensions and all that, they're gonna be lost. I remember showing the first Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse movie to a friend, and she got bored because she's not really a nerd. She just wanted to see a Spider-Man movie, but she got lost with the fast-paced dialogue and how there were multiple Peter Parkers. She was confused by that, so I think an average, person who's not a nerd would not care for this movie. But yeah, I think, comic book nerds and animation people are going to adore this. I was in a theater and there were small children, and while I'm watching this movie, I'm oh, this is probably too fast for them, and it's probably, too dark for them. But the fact that I did not hear them crying and complaining through the whole movie was a comfort. It was a joy to not have my beautiful movie interrupted by children. But there is the risk where, it's a cartoon, so kids will go into it, even if not all kids are appropriate for movie theaters. Yeah, I know this seems mean, but yeah, little kids were in the Little Mermaid viewing for me, and they kind of annoyed me during it with all their whining and such. Yeah, but. Back to the Spider-Verse, it's gorgeous. I will see it in theaters again very, very soon. I loved it. I adored it, and I respected it, and I'm okay with waiting for however long it takes for the next part of it, because it is well worth the wait. It was. It really was.